Many pagan traditions are being revived. Panicky attempts to revive falling sails. Stones and earth slowly slip down the slopes by soil creep. Will you two idiots cut it out and keep quiet? Knock it off. Thorny roses crept up the dull grey walls. Creep can be useful in slow-moving traffic or when parking. He creeps me out when he gets drunk, freaks me out. He's an absolute crumb, an objectionable or contemptible person. The Welsh people, whose hospitality is proverbial. Cost-cutting measures are planned to beef up performance. They were taught how to creep up on an enemy. Eels wriggle, they're slimy, and they give some people the creeps. Foreigners were admissible only as temporary workers. It's more a sketch than a policy. Where's the beef? She deserved better than these clandestine meetings. Many children who act out end up in juvenile detention. She has an alibi for the whole of yesterday evening. Team captain Ben Hall collected the winner's shield. A coating of grease provides a shield against abrasive dirt. A face shield is sometimes an integral part of a safety helmet. Water is a relatively good shield against cosmic rays. There is a sort of drollery here, beginning with crumbles. The budget provided few crumbs of comfort. An anonymous note like that would creep me out. The concrete block has a recess in its base. The perfect time to sow a few seeds or plant out some seedlings. The case attracted wide publicity in the press. The disagreement simmered for years and eventually boiled over. Students were encouraged to act out the stories. This is likely to incentivize management to find savings. Restructuring and slimming down the organization. God made Adam from the slime of the earth. The cold stone was wet with slime. His whole frame was extenuated by hunger and fatigue. It was a small estate that brought in no profit. The court chooses to extenuate the man's crimes. His sentence was reduced because of the extenuating circumstances. Nothing can extenuate such appalling behavior. There is no economic analysis that can extenuate bigotry. Bland, mass-produced pop music. A bland and unadventurous vegetarian dish. The recesses of the silent pine forest. Talks resumed after a month's recess. The mid-morning recess. There's been a dreadful accident. The weather was dreadful. She writhed in agony wearing an immaculate white suit. A pair of slim, immaculately cut trousers. He always appeared immaculately dressed. Immaculately timed performances. Itsy-bitsy candles that couldn't light the path of an ant. They are looking for crafty people to make ornaments. The group began by busking on Philadelphia sidewalks. Sprawled figures basking in the afternoon sun. He went on basking in the glory of his first book. On any given corner you will be entertained by buskers. Acting obsequiously in order to obtain forgiveness. Orange groves. The mangrove is the sacred tree of her husband's clan. He grovelled at George's feet. He relaxed and began to groove. They were grooving to Motown. Just sitting around, grooving on the music. He is groveling to gain a grove of mangrove. An apple orchard, grove. An olive grove. His groveling references to great historians. Undergarments, clothing worn beneath outer clothes. It was time to give in and do a bit of groveling. They criticized leaders who grovelled to foreign patrons. The conflict reached a flashpoint last year. He will be expecting us, so we will let him stew a bit. He had done public penance for those hasty words. To ingratiate herself with the local aristocracy. Several incendiary devices were planted in stores. Asking that question was the nadir of my career. A project as big as this requires a lot of financial wherewithal. Did I have the wherewithal to respond to Venetian art? Uncovered sale is selling an option without possessing the wherewithal to. They lacked the wherewithal to pay. He denounced Western decadence. I dunked a biscuit into the cup of scalding tea. A motley crew of discontents and zealots. I thought we could be friends, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Discontent stirred the men to mutiny. There were rumors of mutiny among the troops. He paid his workers a pittance. He was no longer privy to her innermost thoughts. She tried to scab a fag off me, scrounge. We also recorded the presence of scabies and fungal lesions. She began to lug her suitcase down the stairs. Become encrusted or covered with a scab or scabs. I had a cut on my arm that had scabbed over. A gauge for investor sentiment. He led a mutiny against the captain. They won on a slam dunk with 2 seconds remaining. You're a slam dunk to become sheriff. It should be a slam dunk and quick flight home. The vote proved to be a slam dunk for our side. When they slam dunk the ball, we celebrate. The soldiers mutinied over the non-payment of wages. Immaculate Heart. His style of investigation constitutes entrapment. An immaculate safety record. He had trapped his finger in a spring-loaded hinge. He has 28 days in which to lodge an appeal. 28. His caustic wit cuts through the humbug. She turned away to hide her discomfiture. To my discomfiture he began whistling loudly. She was enjoying her opponent's discomfiture as she spoke. I wonder whether you have thought more about it. The show's cringeworthy attempts at humor. America was reduced to a mobocracy. Many MPs are secretly enjoying his discomfiture. The bell over the door echoed resoundingly. The Federal Party was resoundingly defeated. The heels of her sandals clicked on the stone floors. The people voted resoundingly for change. Sleeping outside in the bitter cold. The menfolk of the village watched the goings-on. She was paging through a pile of Sunday newspapers. You need to put some flesh on the bones of your idea. Ask your butcher to bone the turkey for you. The examination system has long been a serious bone of contention. After my grandfather died, his will was a bone of contention in the family. 2 dogs fighting, contending, over a single bone. A man armed with grenades hijacked the jet yesterday. The kicker was you couldn't get a permit. I wanted to leave early, I was up with the lark. He's always joking and larking about in the office. Danger lurk beneath the calm surface. You'll soon learn the lurks and perks, a profitable stratagem. What's bred in the bone will come out in the flesh. I haven't made my bones with you. The headmaster was getting a little too close to the bone for my liking. I didn't want to live on the bones of my arse. His thigh had been axed open to the bone. Costs will have to be cut to the bone, reduce something to the bare minimum. He made no bones about his plans to cut expenses. The minister threw the buyers a bone, do something to appease someone. No need to interrupt the background music just to page the concierge. An attempt to steamroller the country into political reforms. An abandoned tire whose rubber had perished. This was all a dreadful mistake. Both exhibitions are curated by the director. Can I bring my friends to the party? Of course, the more the merrier. He was stricken with the dread disease and died. That dread being we dare oppose. His voyage to America. Voyagers not voyeurs. Weekly rubbish collection should be the bare minimum in a civilized society. This system has been simplified to a bare minimum. The critical opprobrium generated by his films. An upright member of the community. A fair degree of barbed wit. A lorry shed its load of steel bars. How dangerous is barbed wire? The city reaches gridlock during peak hours. Happiness is a state of mind. The attorneys are representing him pro bono. You prefer sign language. A nosy, officious, and inquisitive neighbor. Go light the stove, Roger. Two households, both alike in dignity. We are in the verge of the deal. Queen Victoria and her consort, Prince Albert. The soles of their feet were nearly black with dirt. Reporters accosted him in the street. There was an increased bounty on his head. The shed can be used for storing fleeces. Dated terms that were once in common parlance. He had his hair cut when he got back from varsity, university. He allegedly carjacked a vehicle from a woman at gunpoint. He will no longer tolerate pandering to the masses. Newspapers are pandering to people's baser instincts. The end. Coming next. Session 35.